Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to my channel. I am Coach Sherry. I'm in my vehicle, so this is car chat and all that. There's so much I wanted to talk to you about today, talk to you today about. And I said, you know what, Sherry, calm down, because there's so much time. There's so many more videos that you can make. Don't worry about trying to get everything packed into this one pre-record. So being that today is the Monday after the first week of NFL regular season games, I wanted to just give a shout out to my NFL sisters, the NFL wives that are holding it down for those gladiators that are on the field, on the sideline, on the team. First of all, you made it. Week one, you made it. And I wanted to give them a special shout out because people don't realize what it's like, what it takes to be a wife of someone who has a career in the NFL. You know, it's a game that, people look, they're spectators, they're fans, they love the sport, they love to see the competition out on the field. But I can tell you firsthand as a wife whose husband played for 10 seasons that it's a heart clincher for us, and I can't say for all of us, and maybe that's why the divorce rate is 80% in the NFL. But for those of us, that 30% that's there, true and true, ride or die for our spouses, not saying that they all are not, but I'm just saying, without saying, but, it could be very emotional and challenging. It's a lot. When I used to go to the games, I would have binoculars and all I would do is watch my husband the whole entire time while he was on the field. Every move he made. He was an offensive lineman, so oftentimes I didn't know if the receiver, caught the ball. I didn't know how many yards the running back gained. I was watching him blocking to block for the quarterback. And, it's interesting because, again, people aren't watching for all players. They're just looking at the game as a whole. And then when the game is over, they go to the next game or they go and talk to their friends, do those, couch coaches and, break the game down and, have their opinions, let's call it. And that doesn't stop, for the family or for the player, because every game is a interview. Basically, it's an opportunity for them to be filmed doing their best, if they can, on the field, because it's always week to week. There's only certain players that never really have to worry about any changes to take place throughout the season. But for a good chunk of the players, it's a week to week. So every time they step on that field, it's an interview. It's game time for real, and that's why I would keep the binoculars on my husband, because it didn't matter if the team won or if they lost. It mattered to our family how well he did. And so, after games, he and I would talk about things. I would share things that I had seen. He would tell me some things that I didn't see that go on. And just kind of break it down in that way. But just talking about him, it didn't matter, again, if they won or lost. If they lost and he did well, that's great. If they won and he didn't do well, that's not great. So it's week to week. So you think about, 52 players, really it's about 80, but 52 players, those are 52 different conversations, 52 different looks that are being had. And if a team is in need for a particular position, they are laser focused on that position. And if that's your position, then you have to show up and show out. But, just thinking about the fans and how, they just look at the team as a whole. They may have their favorite players and get mad if their favorite player doesn't play up to par, but not really understanding the background of what might be going on with that particular player. even with you, I'm sure every day is not a great day for you, but imagine if you had a physical, a very physical position, and you were hurt, something was going on, and you're still there, you're still showing up and doing your best. Mentally, you feel like you can handle it, but sometimes physically you just can't. And so when I hear fans bashing players, I'm just like, wow, you don't even understand the backstory. I remember one season, and it was a phenomenal season. It actually was one of my husband's best seasons. And every day when he would come home for practice, he would basically be crawling into the house. He could barely walk. And I would remember I was pregnant with our center child, plus had a baby, a toddler. My son was a toddler. And my husband is a big man. And I'm just looking at him like, there's not much I can do, like, what's going on? And there wasn't much that even the doctors on the team could do at the time, but they needed him week after week, and he performed week after week. And it just was mind-boggling to me how you could barely walk, but you're out on the fields every week. Like, how does this work? But it does. And that's things that fans don't see. So I want to give a special shout out to the NFL wives. Those are my sisters. And listen, it is a sisterhood. Whenever, just like it's a brotherhood with the players, they may or may not have played against each other or on the same team, but because they are, this cohort, this group that is elite, when they see each other, they don't see a stranger. And that's how it is with the wives. Whenever I encounter a wife, she's not a stranger. That's my sister. I understand what she's going through. And in our group that we have, listening to some of the wives whose husbands are still playing, it's like, yeah, I remember that, especially leading up to the season, and you want them to make the team. You may have planted some roots where you are, and you're like, oh man, because you just never know. Even if they are, a franchise player, they may still go to another team if they are a free agent, or if they only have 1 year left on their contract. You just never know. And so every week it's like, all right, especially during camp. And some people, they just don't get it. And I understand, looking from the outside in, it's a different view. And you don't see the behind the scenes as much. So you're looking at the field, you're looking at the bigger picture, whereas we're looking at it, in bite size. So for me, and even for my family, my son, he still looks at games. My husband does a little bit, but it's business, and so it doesn't hit the same, it's not that excitement, at least not for me. It's just kind of like, wow, oh, I hope everybody makes it out okay. I hope everybody is healthy. I hope everyone is safe. And even in that moment, of the game, because it is a gladiator sport, I think about the aftermath, which is something we never thought about. I mean, we did, but we didn't know how it would actually hit. And so it's that football is that sport that is the gift that keeps on giving, and you don't like every gift necessarily, but the challenges afterwards that 98% experience. And, you don't think it's going to happen to you necessarily, or you think you'll be able to handle it, but not so much, not all the time. And so I look at it as a sacrificial kind of sport. They're sacrificing a lot to be on that field. So as a spectator, as a fan, I'm hopeful that you can understand what they are sacrificing to entertain you, to be out there and, have you bet or cheer them on or boo them or whatever. I hope you understand the sacrifices that they're making with their bodies, with their minds. It's a huge contact sport. It's I continuously call it a gladiator sport. It just reminds me of the gladiators from back in the day. But be mindful of that. And I'm sure y'all, don't look at it in that way, but that's how I look at it. Like, wow, they're all sacrificing a lot to entertain everyone. I remember my husband's last season, and I would always, I was married to him 7 years out of his 10, and we dated the 3 before. So I was with him basically, his whole career. And now we're married 29 years. And I remember I always would take him, especially to home games. I would always, the night before, take him to the hotel. I would drive him to the hotel, because when they play home, they still all stay in the hotel. And then they all, I guess they probably drive to the stadium. But what I would do is I would pick my husband up in the morning from the hotel and take him to the stadium. Then I would come back, get ready. If I didn't take my son at the time, and my daughter, I would, wait for the nanny to come, and then I would go to the game. And then after the game, go down to where the families are. Some of the fans come down there too to greet them. And then we would go, I would pick him up, go out to eat, and then go home and just kind of decompress. And, that was basically our routine. And so his last season, I started to not really go to the games. I would just take him to the hotel, and then in the morning pick him up, take him to the game, and then go home. And I would sometimes watch the game at home. I would watch the game. I would watch it here and there, but then I also would be home with our kids. But watching the game on TV, I didn't get a clear view of him, because it doesn't show him in particular. He would always say, if you hear a lineman's name, they did something wrong. So, it was rare that I would I would try to be laser focused on him, looking at it from that viewpoint, but it's different than being in person. And then after that game, towards the end of the fourth quarter, because my husband was always notorious for being the last one out of the locker room. Always. Oh my goodness. I would be the last one waiting. And I would always see the other players like, is he coming? They were like, yeah, he's coming, So that's just his thing. I don't even know. He just was always the last one. So I would wait a little bit, towards the end of the fourth quarter, and then I would go back to the stadium and, park, and then, wait for him to come out. And that was our routine, and that worked. And one of the reasons why I did that his final season is because, and I knew, we kind of both knew, because when I started dating him, he said, listen, if I can make 10 years in this, I'm good. I'll be good. And so, and he did. God blessed him with 10 seasons. And he could have played more, but that was his goal, and he made it. So one of the reasons why I decided to do that is because I felt kind of weird. It was like, that was his career. That was his job. And it started to feel awkward. Like, I'm looking at him work, he, whatever I do, he's not standing there looking at me doing what I do all day or whatever. And I don't know. I just felt like he's at work. Let him work. And also, it's a young man's sport. And even though when he retired, we were young, we were in our early 30s, 32, 33 years old. But it felt like we were so old, because it is a young man's sport. And so, I felt like, man, I feel like this old lady amongst these young girls, they talking about stuff I don't even care about. I'm about the business. They don't even know. And yeah, it was interesting, especially that last season. So just wanted to give a shout out to my NFL wives, sister wives, and, stay prayed up. We, many of the teams we were with, we had, a wives Bible study group, and that was really, really helpful. We would typically have Bible study on Wednesdays during the day, and, it was really, really helpful. I'm also remembering some of the guys trying to make weight, just a lot of stress and things that they go through with their bodies week after week. Y'all have no idea. You look at football players as these big guys and, oh, the bigger the better type of thing. But some of them are too big, and there's a weight requirement that they have to meet. And so some of them would, like, after the game, basically starve themselves, go into saunas and stuff so that they can try and shed some weight, weigh in without having eaten the night before that day, just to make weight. Luckily, my husband didn't have that problem. If anything, he would have to gain weight. So it was interesting. As big as he was, he still sometimes would have to gain weight. But just wanted to come here today and just kind of share that, because it is the season starting. Everyone is so excited. Oh, I can't wait. I'm be, with my wings and beer and pizza and all that. And where you gonna watch the game? I'm gonna be home. I have some people over. I'm going to the bar. I'm going here and there, and I get it. I get it. It's a national treasure. It's a sport that many people can relate to one way or the other, and we like to see that kind of activity, but it's business at the end of the day for the players and their wives, and it could be very, very stressful, just wondering if this is going to be the week, how are they doing? I hope he does well. You praying each down. Imagine that every single down, every single yard that is taken, every time they're on that field, praying for them. I know people always say, oh, I'm praying for the team, But when you are a wife, you're praying for every moment of the game. And you're just happy to see them get up if they go down, get up on their own and walk off. You're just so happy to see that. When it doesn't happen, the heart just sinks. I've been in the stands when, a husband had to be carried off, and that's not a good feeling, not just for the wife, but for all of us. It's like, because we know any given Sunday, any given moment, it could be any of ours. So that's another reason why our sisterhood is so strong, because we get it. We're there for each other. I'm just thankful to God that my husband was able to walk away from the sport, walk away without being carried away, without being pushed away. He did have opportunities to continue with his career, but he chose family over career in that way. And I'm grateful for him for that. That was a sacrifice too. Because, that's a sport that young boys, they grow up playing, from the age of 7, 8 years old. And that's the ultimate. Like, you can't get any higher than that. And a small percentage of them make it to the NFL. Is what they say, out of all the colleges in the country that have football teams, only 1% of those players will make it to the league. And only 1% of those players will make it past that 3 years to become vested. And, the odds are very, very low. So, the fact that he made it and set his goal and made it is remarkable. And I know he wrote those things down. That's why when I tell people, listen, I was raised by people that achieved their goals, and I married someone that achieved their goals, and I've achieved my goals and continue to do so, because I know it happens. It can in any arena, that you want to be in, that you want to play in. But that's another reason why I know it's so important to practice hard every day. Everyone I've been around that means something to me, my parents, my husband, my children, that means something to me, they've practiced and they've played exceptionally well. The way that you play is your brand. The way that you show up is your brand. The way that you carry yourself is your brand. The way people remember you, they remember your brand. So you have to do your best. It's not about trying. It's not. It's just not. Trying is not an option. Not when the competition is high. With my parents in their business, the competition was high, and my parents were able to exceed what anyone had set out for them and become the lead in what they did. In my husband's career, competition was high, and he was able to over exceed what, what people had expected, and he became a lead in what he did. In what I do, the competition is high. What I do right now, there's only a handful of people that do it like I do it, and so the competition is high. So it's not about, laying down your weapons, laying down your armor. No, you got to keep them things up, sharpened and ready. So you just never know. You just never know when the next opportunity will be. And watching my husband all those years and understanding the importance of each and every game, each and every down, because even when he was a free agent, even though we had a great agent, we had a great agent, oh my goodness. But you know what? My husband still took his career into his own hands, and he made sure he always kept up with the games that he played best in and was able to pull the film from that. He called NFL Films and was able to pull the film and get a what do you call it? A collaboration, or I forget what you call it when you put all of them together. And, so it could be on a reel, and it would be all of his best film. And that's what he would tell his agent, like, listen, send this to this team, that team, this team. Know where you want to go next. Know where what you do is needed next, and have your stuff ready. But if you don't have that track record, if you don't have that resume of work, of your work, not the work that you were in a building and you saw, you were at the table and heard, no, the work that you've done. If you don't have your resume with the work that you've done ready, or even the work that you've done prepared to be ready, I'm turning red, it's hot, then you need to start getting your resume together. You need to start making sure that you are contributing, that you are doing what you need to do. I'm going off. It's a sidebar, but I just wanted to let my NFL sisters know I am praying for y'all, praying for your spouses. Hope this is a great season for you. And that's another thing, you pray for your husband's team to do well, but in real life, you want everybody to do well. You want everybody to walk off and be successful. So that's another, it's almost like a contradiction. Like what we want everybody, but you still want to come up, as the victor in more cases than not, for sure. But I just, hopefully this video will help you maybe look at the game a little differently, have a little more respect for the players and what they do, the sacrifices that they make so that you can be entertained. I forget who it was. Somebody was talking about a player and was like, oh, he don't even play. He's on that team. He's on that team. I remember the first 3 years of my husband's career, he didn't play. He didn't dress for the games. People, oh, he ain't all that. 7 years starting. So you don't minimize what people are doing. Even if someone is on the practice squad, don't minimize that. That's still beating the odds of hundreds of thousands of others. There's still people that wish and say, so many people think it's just that easy too, because they know a player and maybe they played with that player in Little League or something in high school. And it's like, oh, I was better than him. I could do that. Let me tell you, to be at the best level, at the highest level, it's more than physical. It's also a mental. And is your mental prepared for it? Is your mental prepared for it? Because it's a lot. It's a lot. It's more than, heck, you got to do more than just the game. It's that practice. It's that business savvy. It's that mental piece. It's that, competition. Can you handle the competition? It's that playing against everyone that's the best. Not just some, but everyone, the whole league is the best. Can you handle that? Can you handle perhaps not being the man anymore? Because you used to be the man where you came from. Everybody was the man though. Can you handle being part of A group of men that are all the men, that are all the men. That's the thing. Can you handle that mentally? A lot of people can't. Can you handle still being coached? Are you coachable? Do you feel like you still have things to learn? You think you're the best, but do you feel like you can be better? And are you trying to be better, or are you just trying to maintain what you have because you like, listen, this got me here? When you get there, you still have to improve. You still every week have to get better. Are you good at strategizing? Really? These are things that a lot of people don't consider. So at any rate, y'all, this was my car chat. And just like I was saying, remember, every single day, practice so hard so that when you do go in, you will get in and win. And listen, it's not just about winning for your whole team, but winning for yourself, doing your best for yourself, because that's your legacy. All right. Until we speak again, everyone stay safe. I am Coach Sherry.